What's up, guys? Welcome to the genesis or the start of your journey as an entrepreneur, a founder, a leader of one or of many. Today's episode is going to be all about you finding out what it truly means behind the scenes to even start a business, whether you're in business now or you're thinking about starting it tomorrow. Justin and I are going to give you everything you need to know because we've been there, right? The point of this thing is for you guys to understand we're not talking down to you. We're not talking at you. We're conversing with you, right? And if you're thinking about, is this the right place to be? If you're somebody that knows you have the potential to influence others and to then in turn turn a profit off of that influence, you're in the right place, baby. All right. My name is Teddy Savage. I am the founder and the leader of the Cultivation Effect. We truly dive into what it means to be a culture and a leader strategist. We influence people from diagnostics, from the root, all the way to the solution and beyond. And I'll let my brother Justin Shaw introduce himself.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? My name is Justin Shaw. I'm the owner and operator of IMJS. We help founders become startup operators. So many of you start your entrepreneur journey simply with an idea and a thought that you can implement whatever service or product that you have a gifting for into the market. But you don't come with the experience of being a trained executive. You don't know how to look at the business from a holistic perspective because you only were a master of one thing. And I'm here to help you learn how to manage the entire thing, right? And so I'm so excited to be here with my brother Teddy. I'm really excited about this conversation that we're going to have in the kickoff of this 4-part series. And, we're going to get on into it, Teddy.
I love it. Hey, listen, here's the thing. Number one, I want you guys to ask yourself, why, right? Why am I here in the first place? Why did I start my business in the first place? Why is my purpose in alignment with my mission? And then secondly, ask yourself who I am beyond my job description. I think that's a great place to start, JS, because when we think about what we do, so often we assign it to like what our scope of responsibility is, whether you're a founder or you're a senior director or you're a manager of a team. If somebody were to ask you, hey, so-and-so, what do you do? Immediately, so many of us go into, well, what I do is I drive sales. I make sure that our acquisitions are right. Our close rate is. I'm like, no. Not what you do for the business, but who are you? So I think it's really important, right, that we give them the tools to answer questions that are fundamental and germane to knowing where they are. What would you say if somebody had problems figuring out, am I doing the right thing because it's aligned with who I am?
That is a really good question, man, because I think when you first start your business, you intermingle your identity with your occupation, like you said. And you have to be able to take introspection to understand who am I as your identity, meaning looking at what are my gifts, what are my tendencies, where are my weak points, what do I value, right? Because a lot of these things trickle into your business. And that's why we often end up identifying ourselves as our business. But in retrospect, the business is an identity of what you are and what you've produced, right? And so we have to sit back and first identify what our gifts are and who we are as an individual. For me, what I love about what I've had to learn through my own specific journey, I learned how well I am as far as a communicator with my clients, meaning that I'm very personable, I'm outgoing, I'm going to make you feel like family. And that's essentially the strategy that I had in my first organization, my first company, because I knew that most individuals that were in that line of work were transactional. They would just get the job done and be out the way. But for me, I created and nurtured relationships that truly made me a pillar that is different from the others within our industry. And I feel like that's where once you identify what your superpowers are as an individual, you figure out how you can trickle that into your brand. So that way it makes you indispensable.
I love it. And let me give, because a lot of times, right, it's important to give both sides of the coin. Because when I'm talking to groups and I'm really working with multi-unit franchises, of scales of 100, 150, 200 and beyond, the first thing we do is identify who we're not, right? And so in order for you to really find the confidence and reassurance that you need to create clarity about who you are and what you're doing and who you're doing it for, you got to first land the plane on who you're not. And I'm going to give people a really personal story about one of the times where I figured out who I wasn't, right? And how it led me into where I am today. Many moons ago, when I probably had just as much hair as my brother JS right here, I was working as a lumber and building material supervisor at Home Depot, right? And this was post Hurricane Ike in Houston, Texas. So it had ripped through everything, right? And so my department was responsible for all the materials people needed to rebuild, right? So every day is cut wood, get shingles, move concrete. That was it every day. And so, brother, I'm cutting wood and I'm cutting and this is all I did. And this gentleman said to me, he said, "Hey, what do you do?" And I was like, I'm thinking that this guy, man, got to be asking me a question on the side of his neck because he sees me cutting this wood, right? And so because I respected this gentleman and what he was saying, I said, well, I'm a lumber and build material supervisor. I cut wood, I move shingles, I package concrete. He was like, no. Not what you do for Home Depot. What do you do for you? And at that moment in time, it completely changed my pattern of thought because like you said before, many times we coexist who we are with what we're doing, right? And so when I realized in that moment who Teddy Savage is not a lumber and building material supervisor at Home Depot. It was, I am passionate about leading teams, changing lives, inspiring change through rooted work. And so, long story short, I left Home Depot and embarked on a journey that led me here today. So I'm talking to you guys right now. You have to understand who you're not so you stop wasting steps down that journey. Somebody told me the longer you take going the wrong path, the more expensive it is to get back on the right one. So I said, hey, no, so long, Home Depot, and don't tell anybody this, but I'm not rehireable at Home Depot because I left, and I said I got to get out of town. But it led me here. So now I'm telling you guys this: when we talk about the genesis or the start and really the nature of that word itself, it means that you have to begin, and in order to begin, you got to stop taking the wrong steps.
So, I'm real curious, and hopefully I'm not spoiling what your next video is going to be. What are the 3 steps to creating that identity, or excuse me, not creating, but clarifying your identity?
Yeah, and that's great. And I'm so glad you used the word clarifying because that verb is important because it frames up everything else. Clarity comes first from knowing where you are and how you got here. So step number 1 is diagnosing your patterns of behavior. Like what do I repeat the most, especially under pressure? Because those things, whether you know it or not, your patterns of thought and behavior are what got you exactly to where you are right now. And sometimes those patterns are not situated to get you where you want to go. And that's vitally important because you could be thinking, I'm not too far off, like I'm not in a bad spot, but you got to also be doing the hard work to say, if I'm to get to where I've never been before, sometimes that means I need to subtract what I've been doing so far. That's huge, right? So number 1, it's identifying your patterns of constraint and your patterns that promote. Secondly, is knowing when and where and how these things manifest. So if I'm putting myself in situations where it's pulling me sideways or pulling me backwards, I got to have the courage to say, okay, I need to remove that because that's no longer who I'm identifying myself as. So now my patterns have been identified, the environmental factors that have been acting on me have been identified. And then next, and this is the most important 3rd step, is identifying my most logical and inevitable next step, right? So often we get so lost because we focused on like the goal line 100 yards from where I am right now that we have no idea how to go from the goal line to the 1 yard line. And that is essential to getting to the touchdown. You see? So it's vitally important through identifying your patterns, understanding your environmental factors, and then having the wherewithal to say, I know I want to get far, but I need to get really good at showing what that next step is.
You know, it's really good. And I want to put this in context for the entrepreneur, like in plain, like hindsight. Now,
Mm-hmm.
ironically, my route was slightly different. It was almost like step two happened at step one, and then I got more clarity, right?
Yeah.
So for me personally, when I started my suit company back in 2017,
Okay.
it was in a time, excuse me, and it wasn't even 2017 when I went through this process. So I want you guys to know
Mm.
clarity doesn't come overnight. This is something that is
So true.
unveiled over
So
time.
true.
All the time, we're still rediscovering ourselves every single day because we've experienced something new every day.
Mm.
So back in 2015, I went through that process of trying to identify who I was. What happened was the number two, which
Yeah.
is removing yourself out of circumstances that aren't aligned with your values. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that's what I was doing, but I had a feeling in my spirit that I was
Yeah.
not aligned with what God called me to do.
Mm.
And I knew that I was supposed to build a business, but I knew of being in environments that were not conducive to my purpose were
Yeah.
diluting the opportunity for me to impact millions. And so
So
what
good.
I ended up doing
So
was
good.
I ended up shifting myself outside of those circumstances so I
Uh-huh.
can gain clarity
Mm.
on asking, man of faith, God, who am I? What am I called to do? And then
Yes.
from there, that's when the onion was getting peeled back. I was
Mm.
understanding that, wow, this is going to be the name of my brand. Wow, I'm supposed to be doing custom suits. Wow, you're actually a very polished, presentable gentleman because you
Mm-hmm.
love to
Mm-hmm.
groom yourself accordingly. And this is a gift. This isn't something that you were trained on, and people want more of this from you. And
Yeah.
so I was able to get the identity of like, this is how Justin grooms himself. This is how you curate the gentleman that you want to be. And you
Mm.
start identifying your gifts. And now I'm pairing my gifts into a vehicle, which is my purpose at the time, suits, to support gentlemen in those other marketplaces to add value to their purpose. And
Mm.
so, like you said, I did extract myself from the circumstance first, then I got my identity, and then I continue to peel back, but then also add new spaces for me to be in
Yes.
to see the possibilities. And then from there, that's when I made that first launch of saying, I need to get to that first down or that touchdown,
Mm.
whereas
Mm-hmm.
I launched with no
Yeah.
background, no expertise, no experience in doing what I'm doing, but saying, I just need to launch and see what happens in the next 30 days just to see if this is the route that I need to go. And I
I
wanted to
love it.
put that in plain sight so that way you could also see it from starting your business and
Yes.
resonating with somebody.
Yes. And another thing to pick up, guys, what we're talking about is from each one of us having a unique perspective, a unique journey, a unique set of circumstances. What I like to look at it from a standpoint, because I'm a former applied mathematics major, is an equation, right? You're working with a system of equations, that has unique variables in it. The variables in your equation and the ones in mine and the ones in Justin's and whomever else is on this call right now is going to be unique to your journey and your desired outcome. But the most important thing is to understand the constants. That's critical. If you know the constants, it makes it easier to solve for the variables, right?
Mm.
And so one thing that I want you guys to do as an actionable step from this Genesis episode, because everybody has a vision board, right? I got a board back there. It's not necessarily a vision board, but you understand it's a vision board. Usually you have visuals that you say, okay, that's the house I want, this is the car I want, this is the trip I want to take, this is the amount of money I want to make, or this is the family I want to have. You got all of that. But when I tell people, Justin, when I say, okay, I see your vision board, show me your sacrifice board, show me your pattern board, show me your environment board. They're like, what's that? You know what I'm saying? If you don't have just as much clarity around those things, your vision board is just hope. It's wishes. It's, I hope I can manifest this, right? And so, what I want you guys to do is to spend some time mapping out what are my patterns of thought and my patterns of behavior that have led me right here, whether they've been pushing you towards who you want to be or drawing you away. Write it out, map it out, cut out pictures in a magazine if you want to, right? Do the same thing with your environment. What elements of my environment are going to promote me getting to where I want to be that 1 yard line, not the touchdown. You ain't even earned the touchdown yet, right? But that 1 yard line, map it out, write it out, cut the pictures, everything you want. And this is important, and this is the one a lot of people shy away from. What are you willing to sacrifice to get there? You're going to have to subtract something to open up space for the new thing, okay? So you got to be okay with tearing away so that you can fill back up and cultivate. That's important. That's one thing. If you're not doing your homework, you're not going to get the benefit out of these episodes, man. This is not something that Justin and I are going to be giving you some sort of microwave quick fix solution. This is not what that is. But what we are going to give you are the tools so that you can confidently do the work yourself. That's what it is.
And then I loved how Teddy queued this up because he's telling you the internal work that you need to do to identify what's happening within you. And so as you're doing that, you're going to be able to recognize your gifts. You're going to recognize your skill sets. And now on my side, when it actually comes to developing and constructing that business, there are 3 things that I need you to do. I need you to, 1, identify your point of interest, meaning what type of business you want to start. Maybe you already have it and you're like, look, I love developing computers. I love building computers. Then fantastic. I need you to start doing analysis on what that looks like in your industry. I need you to be able to understand the landscape because oftentimes when we start from passion, our passion doesn't give us the process and we do things blindly. So just like how you have to gain clarity internally, you need to gain clarity externally. If I want to get to a desired destination, I have to have a map. I need to be able to see what's surrounding my destination. I need to identify if I need to take the Beltway. Do I need to take the main streets? Do I need to take a dirt road? Because this is what's going to outline what's going to be your strategy long term. So number 1, you need to identify your point of interest, what type of business or brand you want to build. Number 2 goes into doing the actual research, meaning what do your competitors do? What gaps do they not fill? And then most importantly, why do people buy from them? It is the best way for you to interpret the art of sales.
Okay.
Because you can love the process in your product, but if you do not know the psychology of the people that you are serving, you will not be able to meet their needs. I look at the example that I use frequently about imagining you having the cure to cancer and you speak English and you are in China and you're saying, I have the cure to cancer. It is right here. There are millions of people dying here in China right now. I have the cure right here, but no one knows what you're saying. That will kill your business before it even starts. Because if you don't know how to communicate to your client, you won't be able to sell anything in the first place. And so
that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, keep going. I was going to say that's so vitally important that you know that, right? Because if you don't necessarily know the story to tell to the people you're telling the story to, you could be using the wrong words. You could be painting the wrong picture. You could be touching on the wrong problem. And that's what Justin is talking about. So I just wanted to kind of let people know, if you're missing this right now, sit up in a seat, put your listening, cap on, as they said in grade school, put your listening cap on. Because this one is really important, right? Because you can know the solution, but have the wrong story and it'll fail.
Yeah. And so 1, identify your point of interest. Number 2, do your research of the lay of the land. And number 3, sounds so simple, but I need you to just take action. I need you to just go out there and do it. Do it without knowing all the answers. Because guess what? Yeah. When a plane takes off and goes into the sky, you cannot see the destination for the plane unless you have the navigation. But even then, you're trusting the tool to direct you in the right path without certainty, knowing that you're going to make it to that destination. And so I need you to know that you are building a plane, you're on the tarmac and you're about to take off, and you have to trust the process that you don't know exactly where you're going to land based off of your hindsight view, but your vision can show you that you're going to Los Angeles or that you're going to serve 1 million people all these different things. And you had to just trust the process of being able to just take the action of starting to reach out to potential prospects, learning what they love about the product that you're going to offer. Who else do they think that would love to learn more about what you're doing? What
Yeah.
partners can I work with? All these different things. So those are my three things for the business component of what we're looking at today that you need to take action on.
Love it. And what Justin is telling you guys right now is so poignant, right? Because if you truly understand the 30,000 foot view of what your company is designed to do for your target demographic, you have to know that target demographic front to back, inside and out. And you don't know it, guys. You got to do your research, right? But you could do all of the research in the world and still not know them. You could know the generic profile, but you got to go talk to people. You got to go have really open dialogue with them to truly understand what the pressures are that they're facing. What's the problem that they can't quite figure out? What are the solutions that they've already tried that have inevitably failed? And then where do you fit in, right? As somebody is going to partner with them to get them to the next thing, to get them to some sort of a win that can build trust. And I think that for me is one of the most important words I want you guys to get out of the Genesis episode is you have to build trust before you can expect transactions, okay? You have to build first the trust within yourself. This is why when we talked about all of the environment, the patterns, the introspective work, understanding yourself first, right? That builds trust inwardly. Because if you don't have that, if you try to get somebody to trust you, it's a facade, right? And so once you built that trust, now let me go talk to the communities I want to serve. Let me go talk to the consumer that I want to sell to. Let me first understand from their perspective instead of me trying to force a square peg into a round hole. Because that may have immediate success, but in a long-term fail, right? And longevity is really the name of the game, guys. So number one, here's another thing, guys. I hope you got your pen out, man. I got my pen right here because I'm always in school. I'm always learning. You gotta phase it out, right? You gotta phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, crawl, walk, run approach to where you are within your business as well. It's like if you're phase 1, you're just starting out as a founder, an entrepreneur, a leader. You can't expect immediate transaction from a standpoint of quantifiable money or ROI. It's not feasible, and it'll cause stress and emotional fatigue. Your phase 1 transaction comes from learning your consumer, right? Understanding the problem to solve. And then 3, what are the inevitable headwinds that I'll need to understand going in? That's your phase 1. Don't even think about the money. The money will come after phase 1. You're crawling right now. So ask yourself those things right now, right? With your pen in hand. How well do I know my customer, my consumer on a scale of 1 to 5, right? 1, I don't know him if I was sitting next to him. 5, I am him or her, right? Then number 2, how well do I know the problem that is ailing those individuals? Scale of 1 to 5, right? And then lastly, number 3, how well suited is my company and my solution to solving that consumer's problem? Scale of 1 to 5. That's where we start. That's the genesis, okay? Don't tell me I want to make, hey, Ted, I'm going to make $1 million in this first year. That's my goal. I'm going to be like, let me see your scale of 1 to 5. Let me see your sacrifice board. Let me see your pattern board. If you can't produce those things, but as quickly as you told me how much money you want to make, I'm going to say, go back to the goal line. We need to go back. So I wanted to make sure we brought that to the forefront too.
You know, to land this plane, because I think you painted it so clearly, I want to say that there are 2 different types of people. There's the individual that understands that their brand is an asset. And if we correlate it to something, it's the stock market. When you invest in the stock market, you do research on the company. You make sure that Apple says who they say they are. You look at their K9, excuse me, not their K9s, their Q8s, whatever they're called, their reports.
Yeah.
And you start to evaluate what makes them different, what makes them special. And then after that, you make the decision to invest. But do you expect a return the same day? Do you expect it in a week, a month, a year? No, you keep putting the money in because you know long term, 20, 30 years from now, the dividends are going to pay out ridiculous because it's all compounding interest. And you need to look at your business like that, like you're investing in the stock market. You don't anticipate the returns immediately, but you know that they'll compound. Your decisions aren't going to be dictated when the market dips or even when it goes up exponentially, because you have to have an even keel mindset when you're building your brand. But then person number 2 is the gambler. The gambler is expecting to push the chips out and put the house on and just expect and pray and hope that they're able to cash out on this hand because they just got a feeling and they got an itch. And they don't have a plan, they just have a hope. And then they could either make that overnight success, but they aren't the person that has that even keel mindset to be able to sustain that, or you can lose the house. And so you had to determine here, do you want to be the long-term investor or do you want to be the gambler? So that's your choice.
And it's a big question right there, because I'm gonna tell you why that's a tough one. Because the gambling aspect is easy. It's easier to be the gambler, right? Because you like, hey, look, I'm throwing it, I'm feeling it. I'm gonna just put it all out there, and relying on hope and wishing and praying and quote unquote being in your bag is a lot easier than saying I'm gonna do the work, I'm gonna do the research, I'm gonna identify where I'm falling short, I'm gonna make sure I understand my consumer, like all that kind of stuff. And the reason why that is you touched on such an important part of it, Justin. Patience is critical. Patience. And we have patience in so many other assets and facets of our life, but we don't apply it to our business, to what we do for a living, right? To your point, you would never plant a seed in the ground, an apple tree, and expect the next day to come out and be able to eat Granny Smith apples. You would be silly, and I would, as your grandmother would say, I'm gonna slap some sense into you, right? That's just, if y'all low here, you would expect that. I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm gonna save you a lot of time. That's not how it works, okay? You plant the seed, you cultivate the soil, you do what you need to enrich that particular seed, and you continue to do it. And you continue to do it, even though you don't see a sproutlet. Because I'm going to tell you guys another thing that you may already know from biology class, but I'm going to remind you, right? And like you do more reminding than you do enlightening. What's happening to that seed happens below the surface of the soil first, before you even see anything visually. That's critical. What's happening in your business is happening below the surface first, but it is essential if you want to be able to reap the harvest in any way in 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, right? That's what it's all about. And that's why it's important that you guys zoom in, zoom out, understand, take action, learn. And one thing I want you guys, I'm talking to you right now. One word I want you to remove from your vocabulary is failure. Because as an entrepreneur, as a founder, as a leader, you don't fail, you learn, okay? You have input and you have output. Think of it as an experiment. When you were in biology class, right? You had a control, you had a thesis. You would say, we're going to go in and try X, Y, and Z. And did that happen on the first try? Probably not. That's why labs took all day, because you had to continue to repeat, you had to refine, because you saw that the output that you got the first time wasn't quite the output that we expected, that we desired. And you learned and you changed and you shifted and you added and you subtracted. That's the game of being a founder and an entrepreneur and a leader, okay? So that's what the Genesis is all about. And the last thing that I want to tell you guys is this: the worst thing that you can do is let information stop at knowledge. Okay. I learned that a long time ago in business. That's the worst thing that you can do because it's a false sense of success, right? A lot of smart people are not where they want to be in life because of that particular thing. We need this content to land in action. Okay. We gave you some very actionable things to go do in order to quantify yourself, to diagnose yourself, to have better self-awareness, and to understand your business better. Do the work and the road becomes clearer.
So I'm funny. So I promise you I'm gonna cut it. I'm gonna cut this part. I was like, dang, that boy cooking.
I said, hold on. I said, did I lose my brother? Hold on.
No, you did. I was like, all right, he's cooking. He's cooking over there. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
Hey, we got in it. This is the truth.
Yeah. But yeah, so great stuff, Teddy. I think what we'll talk about now is more so about what to expect over this series, right?
Yes.
So this is just the genesis, meaning this is the foreground of where we're going to take you over the next 3 weeks. Next week, you'll have a video from me dropping, talking more about the business and the strategy of how to view your business. Because we can give you the inner work, you can give you these quick little 3 tips that we gave you, but I'm going to dive deeper into what I had discussed on this conversation. And then Teddy's going to be talking more about
the environment, pattern, alignment, and execution. The first 4 essential pillars of leadership and culture development. And I'm going to give you guys, like I did today, very specific things for you to go and do so that you can diagnose how you score yourself out in those first 4 pillars. And once you do that, then we'll lead into the Omega, the final episode in the series.
Yeah,
what can
absolutely.
They expect from that, Justin?
Yep. So honestly, I think this is off the cuff. I feel like the Omega should be us talking about our experience of going through these exact same things and how we had to navigate them, right? Because we can give them the this isn't even theory. This is stuff that we've experienced. But walking through what the experience was like for us when we were going through that process and how we overcame the obstacles that we ended up encountering through the topics that we're just discussing, that we're going to be discussing over the next couple of weeks.
For sure. I love that. Because I want to remind you guys, we're not talking at you. We're not speaking from a pulpit, right? We're right in the congregation in those seats with you guys. So I love that. We'll give you guys some real honest stuff about us, about our journeys. We want you guys to ask questions too. So like we said, don't let the content line as information, and certainly don't expect us to just give you everything that you need, right? So if there's a topic that you want Justin and I to cover beyond the first 4 series here, let us know, right? And no topic is taboo. Whatever is a part of your equation, we talked about a system of equations, whichever is one of your variables that you've been trying to solve yourself but have never quite been able to get, let us know. Because chances are we've had to deal with it.
There it is. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Perennial Edge is our first episode, so I'm going to clap it up for us. We did that.
Yeah.
But good stuff. We appreciate you guys watching. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe because this is YouTube now officially. So we hope to see you next week, and take care.
Hey, let's go lead, baby. Let's go lead.
Yes, sir.